Rashad,
Yes.
one day I was going around and I was riding my bicycle. And when I was riding my bicycle, I approached a herd of geeses. And as
Herd
I
of geeses, you said.
and as I approached this herd of geeses, I got off my bicycle
You got off your bicycle.
and I approached them
You approached
on
them.
foot.
On foot.
And I decided that I shall speak to them in the geese language.
What did you say to the geeses?
I went up to them and I went, and began to move in the custom way of the geese, flapping my arms up and down as though I was flying and waddling in their general direction. I intended to become one of the geeses. And just so you don't forget, I went and approached them waddling and flapping my arms. And for some reason, they all left me.
They didn't accept you as one of their own.
No.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Outrospection. If this is your first time listening to Outrospection,
We're so sorry.
hi. Now I feel like I should introduce myself, but no,
No, we're not doing that.
I'm not introducing myself. If you don't know who I am, then I'm sorry.
So
So,
we've come to a conclusion, a universal conclusion that is generally true for most people, I would say.
September is the best song.
September is the most liked and best song.
It's the best song.
If you don't know what we're talking about, September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, you'd probably know the song.
You know the song. If you don't know September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, then we have to have a conversation. If you don't like September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, I don't like you.
I would like to encourage all of our listeners to right now pause the podcast and go listen to September by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I would like to second that that encouragement. It's a great song.
It is an amazing song. You should listen to it. It'll make you feel better about your life.
It will make you feel good no matter how you're feeling. It's a great song.
It's an amazing song.
It's a great song.
Great song.
Best song.
Best song.
Such a good song.
It is. I think it's the most universally liked song.
Yeah.
White, black, Puerto Rican, everybody just a freaking. It's the best song.
It's a good song. It's all kinds of good. Like it's just you can't turn the song on and then not start to see like people's faces light up. Like it's a good song. It's a great song.
I play that song at my wedding.
I would play that song. I would play that song at my funeral and people would smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So recently, I had a thought, and my thought was, I mentioned this briefly once before on the podcast, and I mentioned life-defining moments. And so today, Rashad and I are going to go through our life-defining moments for you to hear. We're going to be changing up some names, not mentioning some names.
I might mention a few names.
You'll mention names of people that we are okay, but we're going to generally protect the privacy of the people in our lives.
Yes.
Rashad and I are going to go through our top 10 most life-defining moments or kind of little thingies that we think define us as human beings.
We sure is.
So I'm going to start. My first thing I'm going to start off with is something that most people probably don't know about me, might go for some things on this list, is that I was a very, very violent little fucker from the ages of about 2 to 8. Maybe 7. 8. I was just very aggressive. I'd bite my sister all the time. I'd get in little fights at school, and I'd threaten kids, and they threaten me, and I'd punch them, and they punch me. And one time I almost knocked this kid's tooth out in my neighborhood. It was all good, though. But I'd say that I'd call those life-defining moments and kind of life-defining kind of set of moments because it really, I'd say that's a good example of me learning right from wrong. And now I'm much more mellow. I'm not a violent person at all. I have not, laid a hand on someone in a while, in a long, long while, since about then, really. And I think it really changed my course, because if I had not been punished, if I had not learned my right from wrong in that early developmental stage, I would not be the kind of more moral person I am today. I would be in a much worse place. And so it's just kind of like a weird little kid thing, but it's how it is.
Yeah, I think that that's good that you know how to control your behavior.
Yeah, taught me a lot of the self-discipline, and I'm a very self-disciplined person.
Self-discipline is important.
Very much so.
We're all Padawans.
So the second item on my list is a trait of mine and kind of like a series of things as well. You know, when you're younger, it's hard to find certain moments, but there's more general things. And we've mentioned this before, but I am Hayden, red-green colorblind. And that's one of the first things I can kind of remember that set me apart from my brothers and sisters that in my life, from the people I interact with.
Oh, I thought you had actual brothers and sisters that I didn't know about.
I just have one sibling.
I was going to be very upset.
No, but it's one thing. It's one of those things those little minor things that sets you off, I think, because once you have like one thing that's weird about you, I think that pushes you somewhat away from people, which makes you a little bit weirder and weirder. And as that goes on, you become weirder and weirder and weirder. And as you get away from, you know, the general course of society. And so being colorblind kind of made me how weird I am today, which most people would probably say I'm pretty weird.
Yeah.
So I think that had something to do with it. And Rashad likes to make fun of me for being colorblind, which is okay.
You're not colorblind. It's just that we can see extra colors. You actually have the standard color, like the normalized color. It's just that all the rest of us humans have an extra one. So our perception of reality is skewed.
I would like the entire listening audience to please disregard the bullshit that just came out of Rashad's mouth.
If you can see colors, if you can see all of the colors, then your perception is skewed, and you should probably talk to an eye doctor.
I'd also like people to forget that Rashad ever said that.
Or don't. Like, that's an option too.
That's true. The third thing on my list is a thing that most people know about because I mention it offhandedly a lot of time. They're like, what the fuck? You did that? So when I was in first grade, about halfway through the year, February 8th or 4th, one of the two of those, I was 7 years old, and my father had to move to China, the People's Republic of China, to a town north of Guangzhou called Zhuhai. And this is a life-defining moment for me in that kind of, I lived there for 6 months, and I went to a UN school, and my best friend's name was Ben, and he was from England. And most of my teachers were either Australian or Canadian or British. But what it really did, and there was Korean kids who went to the school, there were Vietnamese kids, there were Australian kids, British kids, other American kids, kids from a lot of different places. And being in that environment, I think, is really what opened up my mind to be the more worldly person I am. Because I learned, as a young child, you believe the only world is your world, the world that you can see and perceive. But that really opened my eyes because I was surrounded by people who lived in entirely different worlds than from my own. And I think that changed me because I could be very different, I think, without moving to China, because I could be much more closed-minded and much more inward thinking than outward thinking, I think, if I had not had my reality shaken up with the truth of how different and vast and diverse the world is. The fourth thing on my list is a little bit more, lighter than the two things, but it requires some backstory. So when like most kids, when you're little, you are only friends with the people in your immediate vicinity, in your neighborhood, right? You just are in immediate vicinity. So when I was little, I was friends with all the little boys in my neighborhood who were about the same age as me. And we'd all, go outside and play. And those were my friends for the longest time. But then in 6th grade, I met a girl who shall not be named for the sake of her own privacy. We're going to call her, give me a name.
Ophelia.
So I met Ophelia in 6th grade. She was in my study hall class, which was the science room, and I sat right in front of her. And, I was me. I was always chatting people up. That was kind of like my thing. I like socializing.
Chippity chappity.
And, after that, we, kind of became friends. I made a little bit of a joke. If you guys have ever seen Family Guy, the Consuela character, I pretended to be that character while I cleaned her desk because it was a mess, and her friend. And, you know, as time went on, Ophelia and I became closer and closer friends. And Ophelia is one of the people that her and my other friend who I had before that, which is kind of a vicinity friend, kind of not, who we're just going to call Hamlet for the sake of consistency, even though they're nothing alike.
Also,
and they don't really
fuck
know each other.
Hamlet.
But Ophelia and Hamlet are my two oldest friends that go back to 6th grade, and Hamlet a little bit before then.
I just want to clarify that I'm not saying fuck the hypothetical Hamlet for the story. I'm talking about the Shakespeare character. I'm not a huge fan, even though I'm just like him.
My friend Hamlet is a great guy, and I'm also incredibly indebted to him. But, you know, becoming friends with Ophelia, I later, in more 8th grade, became really close with all of her friends, who all became my close friends, and some of the people I'm closest to in the world right now, and is still currently my main friend group. I'm really grateful for meeting Ophelia and becoming close with her, and, you know, they've helped me through a lot of tough times, which I'll talk about in a bit. It changed the way. It gave me a real group of friends that I've been with for a long time consistently, and it was friends who weren't just based on vicinity, but friends based on shared interest and personality traits and people who I could get along with. I one time, because of something we'll get into later, color guard, went to Disney trip, and Ophelia was also on that trip. And, you know, I realized something. Going to Disney World with your family is a little bit more difficult because you and your family don't necessarily have the same interests. But going with your friends is better because you guys if you're friends with your friends, you generally like some of the same things. Next on my list is a little thing that happened to me in 8th grade. So, more backstory. In middle school, I kind of fell off the wagon in terms of grades. I'm a gifted student, and I was in a lot of really smart classes because of how I proved myself in elementary school and in 6th grade. But around 7th grade and 8th grade, I really just stopped caring about all that, and I let my grades suffer because of it. I was really kind of messing up the thing I had, which your middle school grades don't matter that much, but you should still try so you can learn the necessary things. I'd still say I'm paying the price to this day for not learning the things I needed to in middle school. But my grades were truly suffering, and it was not good. I was passing, but barely. And so when I went to my parent-teacher conference in 8th grade, I didn't expect anything good to happen. It was my father, and we go in there, and I get my ass chewed apart by each individual one of my teachers, and they all basically went around saying, you know, you're a smart kid. We know you're a smart kid. When we talk to you, we can tell you're smart, but you don't try. So we're gonna recommend that you don't take any AP classes in high school, and we're gonna recommend that we don't think you have the work ethic to really do what you should have been doing. In that moment, I just felt so kind of. It shocked me back into reality of, oh my God, I'm going into high school. I need to get my grades and shit together so I can be as successful as I want to be. And I hope to write a letter, and even if not, I want to thank all of my 8th grade teachers for saying those things to me as a kid then, and really clearing up, you know, that I needed to actually apply myself to succeed and not just blow by life. Next thing is about halfway through my freshman year, which this is about, you know, early 2016, about April 21st to be exact, is when Prince died. And most people who know me, most people even refer to me as like that one kid who likes Prince.
You're wearing a Prince necklace right now.
I am currently wearing a Prince necklace as we talk. When Prince died, I was kind of familiar with Prince's music at the time. I remember, you know, we had listened to a bit of it in school for some reason because we had a weird 7th grade English teacher, Rashad and I.
I love that lady so much. She's such a great person.
And there was some stuff that when my parents were introducing me to all the genres of music kind of when I was a little kid, which I thank my parents because they gave me a good array of music to listen to, a very wide spectrum of genres. And Prince was a little part of that because my mom had been a kind of casual into the pop Prince scene in the 80s and early 90s. And when Prince died, it was the day before we were leaving to go to my sister's college orientation thing, and I had to basically stay in a hotel room for 3 days. And before we were leaving, my mother and father got into an argument and were yelling at each other, and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to listen to some of Prince's music. And the song I had been introduced to by a 7th grade teacher was Raspberry Beret, which is a phenomenal song, and I think everyone should listen to that. I turned up that song to kind of drown out the sound of the argument. And from then on, you know, that weekend I downloaded a greatest hits album, and then from then on, like my interest was peaked, and now I, you know all of Prince's albums and know most of the words, and you know, Prince really has become kind of like a figure of someone who I can relate to more than I've related to most people in my life, because I've always found it somewhat challenging to relate to a lot of people on earth. And I never have really looked up to someone, but a lot of the words Prince has spoken and the instruments he's played and the songs and art he has created speaks to me in a way that's probably not special to some people, but it really gave me something to hold on to and a way for me to express myself. And I thank Prince for making the music he did and helping me through all the life stuff that it has helped me through, which it truly has, which we'll get into soon. A lot of breakup, a lot of heartbreak, but also a lot of joy and happiness and love. You know, Prince's music has had an irreversible and immense impact on the person I am and the morals I have and what I believe and how I carry myself and my self-confidence and everything I do. The next thing on my list, which is kind of a series of things, is my first relationship with a girl. We'll call her Vanity. Vanity is not in a mean way, but Vanity because, well, someone out there will get, well, I'll call her Vanity. This relationship kind of began the same time that I got into Prince, and it lasted for a year and a half. And I enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoyed being in that relationship for the first good year of it. And it was very interesting because that's when my entire sophomore year and the beginning month or two of my junior year of high school. And but the problem was it was very young and there wasn't a lot of actual, romance in the relationship as you could expect. And it was my first relationship and I never really did much personally for me, I think. But it was good for me to be in, and it made me, it definitely attributed some ways that I really even haven't figured out to who I am today. But what was more important was the aftermath. So me and this girl broke up.
As people do.
As people do. And I thought we had just gotten over like a big fight because I had worn a tutu for Spirit Day, and there was a whole bunch of things, and she did not like some of the things I was doing, and I thought but it turned out she had realized she was mostly in the relationship just to be in a relationship. And so we broke up, and it sent me on a downward spiral for a month because it kind of shook up things because I thought this person had really strong feelings for me, but it turns out they didn't. So it kind of shook me to my core, and I wasn't expecting it. And so for about a month after that, which is the aftermath, which is really life defining, I made a fair bit of mistakes, and I was very irresponsible for who I was talking to at the time and treated people unfairly and fronted a version of myself that wasn't really the true version of myself. And I'd like to apologize to any of those people. They'll know who they are if they ever hear this. But that aftermath also led me into another life-defining event, which was the beginning of my second relationship and that eventual falling out and aftermath. But before I get to that, just after I got in my first relationship, I ended up joining Color Guard, which for people who don't know, Color Guard is a kind of sport activity with a marching band. And it's those people that you see waving flags around and doing choreo and dance work and marching on the field, but, guard marching. And we also use rifle, and some guards use saber. And I joined that, and I joined it actually with Ophelia and one of Ophelia's friends that I was close with. And that just absolutely changed my world. I had really found a group of people who I could be myself with and experiment with ideas and aspects of my personality I hadn't before, and clothes and stuff, in a group that, really felt accepting, and where I could put in my time and my physical work and my energy and my belief. And I thank everyone who I've ever been in Guard with, even if we hadn't gotten along so much, because you guys really changed who I was as a person by giving me a really good family for the time I had there. And I ended up being captain of Color Guard my senior year, which was a rough and challenging season. But, it all has changed. Guard is so life-defining for me, I can't even begin to speak on it because, I've just dedicated so much of my life to it and put so much of my passion into the shows that we had in the 3 seasons I was there, which I should have joined before my freshman year, but I joined as a freshman, but really more my sophomore year. And, it even helped me get into my second relationship and put me in just this group of people, and some of I'd say, aside from Ophelia's friend group, my Guard friend group, I was also incredibly close with. And I joined Guard partially because Ophelia and I were both planning on to, and our other friend. Guard really is responsible for a lot of the good things that I am, because it took me out of even the post reclusiveness, and I was in the downtroddenness I was before I was in that relationship freshman year, before I joined Guard, before I had found Prince. And it really lifted me up and gave me a solid ground to stand on. I can't even begin to say how thankful I am for everyone I was in guard with. And then comes something that's a little bit more relevant, because we'll get into the last thing that I'd say is life defining for me. But
Is this the last one?
no, this is the second to last.
Oh, okay. Penultimate. Let's go. Let's get it.
Is this podcast and me being friends with Rashad?
Yeah, I made the list.
You did make the list.
I made the list.
Because this podcast, and I really started starting Outrospection and, you know, being friends with Michael, because now Michael and I are the closest in our friendship we've ever been, and we were pretty close. We were somewhat close. And
I'll
sophomore,
touch more on it. I'll touch more on it when we get to my list.
But, you know, this podcast really has given me more of a creative outlet and given me something to focus on through some rough times I've been going through recently. You know, I'm so grateful to have Rashad in my life, and so grateful to have this thing to work on with him. And now he's probably one of the people I'm closest to in the world, and probably one of the best friends I've ever had. And so I'm really happy that I did this thing. And I'm really happy I'm recording our 7th episode right now.
Episode 7. It's real.
It's real.
It's really real right now. It's really real.
And now here's where things get sad again.
Oh, man.
So about a month after Vanity and I broke up, Susanna, which was my second girlfriend, and I met through Color Guard, even though she was not a part of it. It started off not good because I had been fronting that bad part of myself, as I said. But at one of our big competition of the year, we got close, and soon after that, we went on dates and started dating. And that relationship, that beginning part, those first 4 months, I think are incredibly important to my life, even though they're really hard to talk about right now, because it made me a good person, because I needed that kind of redemption of love after the first heartbreak to become the immoral person I am today, and how ingrained in my morals I am, and how much I believe in the power of love and being kind to one another, and love for one another, and words of compassion and words of peace. And in that time period, I also ingested an incredible amount of new Prince music. Actually, during this time period, I actually kind of got less closer to Michael, because I was more focused on my own thing. But, you know, those beginning months really, you know, helped me explore a lot of myself. And I'm thankful for that. But all good things, they say, never last. And me and Susanna recently amicably broke up due to a long series of things and mental health issues. And
we're not going to get into that.
We're not going to get into that, but this is my final life-defining moment, was that relationship and that recent breakup, because that's ongoing. And so this is how my life is still being defined, because unlike this last breakup, I have said to this one, may I remain unshaken. And I'd like to say I have been mostly unshaken. And I'm not going to let myself fall as I did last time. I'm going to continue to be the best possible version of myself and still front the morals that I had. And I thank everyone who I've mentioned in my life-defining moments.
Okay, it's my turn. So how do I want to do this? Do I want to get real deep with it, or do I want to be goofy?
I'd be deep, because I was deep.
Okay, let's be real. Number 1. Let me preface this by saying I was born in Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm from the DMV. I will always be from the DMV. That's my home. I love the DMV. Shout out to the DMV. Shout out to Mambo Sauce.
Shout out.
Shout out to shout outs.
Shout out.
Shout out to shout outs for making these shout outs possible.
Woohoo.
Okay. I was born on March 2nd, 2001. My first thing on my list is when my little sister was born. It's relevant. I was like 1 and some change, probably like 1.5-ish. It's relevant because up until that point, I was a super quiet little baby child. I was a smart little baby child. I could talk in full sentences and like kind of carry conversations when I was 1. If you don't believe me, ask anyone who knew me then. They'll tell you. But I was a quiet one. I was like a quiet observer, look around at the world. And then my sister was born, and then I stopped being that. I started becoming a little bit more mischievous, a little bit more out of there. But I really appreciate my sister because, in a way, she kind of was like my guardian angel when I didn't know I needed one for a little bit. She kind of always would just kind of follow along with the things that I was doing and kind of make sure that I wasn't putting myself in certain situations. So she was keeping me in line, and she was kind of following me around, but I was following her when she was following me, if that makes any sense. So that was pretty cool. My second thing is kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying about my sister. Is growing up being a little weirdo. It's very important. My weirdness started when I was smarter than everyone. And I know that that sounds incredibly arrogant. But in my defense, I was smarter than everyone. And that impacted the way that I processed a lot of the world, because a lot of people didn't understand why I was so vocal, why I was so observant. They didn't really understand the way that I was kind of seeing things, because it was a lot of people just didn't understand the way that I processed the world. And that was life defining, because it shaped the way that I interacted with people, and it kind of skewed it a little bit in a way, because it kind of made me develop this us versus them mentality early on that I'm starting to move away from finally. More on moving away from that later. The third thing, I told you I'm from the DMV, and one day my dad came home and he sat us all down. He was like, guys, we're moving to the Midwest. And we were all pissy about that, you know, as children are when they find out they're leaving everything they know. Moving out here was a huge thing, because it changed everything. It was the first time I was coming into a place where I was like actually like a minority, and I actually felt the eyes of the world on me in a different way because of the color of my skin. Which is something I don't really like to get into a whole lot, even though I do when I talk about it, which is weird. But that was a big thing that I noticed when I moved out here. It's just a huge contrast in the way the way of life and everything is really different out here than it was where I'm from, where back in the DMV and back in Maryland, back in DC. And the adjustment to that, trying to figure out who I'm going to be and how I'm going to be that person, was really kind of defining to me throughout that kind of time period. So I'm still kind of figuring out who I want to be, but I couldn't be making that discovery without having ever come out here. The fourth thing on my list, every summer since I moved out here, I've worked in Washington, D.C. My grandmother has a summer camp through her community center called York Community Center. The camp's called Camp on the Go. And every summer I go out there and I work with the children. I have since about when I was very young. Since I was about 12, I think is when I started working there, 12 or 13. And it was important because it brought me back home every summer. And being there over the summer, spending time with my brother who lives out there, spending time with my family, being around children, helped me develop a lot of patience, because really all of us are all just big children. That's really all people are. And when you learn how to deal with people who are younger, and you learn how to deal with people who aren't developed, it makes dealing with people who are more developed a whole lot easier.
Facts.
Because it kind of helps you put a whole lot of things into perspective when you interact with people. It made me develop a big appreciation for my family, and it made me develop a big appreciation for where I come from. So working out there was super important. The fifth thing on my list, I'm going to come up with a pseudonym for this one, because I don't know if she wants me to just be saying her name out there. The pseudonym I'm going to use is Emma. I think she'll know why if she ever listens to this. My sister runs track, and I met Emma at a track meet. She had one of those loci bracelets. You know, the little rubber ones that are like blue.
Wait, what?
You know those loci bracelets, like the little rubber blue bracelets, and they had like the black spot and the white spot, and they're supposed to have like like dirt from like the highest place on earth and like water from like the bottom of the sea. I don't know, some shit like that.
I've never heard or seen of that before.
What?
Yeah, absolutely foreign to me.
I don't. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up a picture after the episode's over, and you're gonna know what
We'll
I'm
link it
talking
in the
about.
show notes.
We'll link it in the show notes. Yes, go buy them if you want to. I don't care.
We really don't give a shit
We don't give a shit what you choose to do with your money,
unless you're putting it towards bad things.
or if you're giving it to us. I would like
Yeah,
that.
if you'd like to give us money or sponsor the podcast, please tell us.
If you'd like to give us money, you may. I'm not going to say give us money. I feel like we might get in trouble for that.
Also, please share the podcast with people and share with people that you think might like it and like it, retweet it, whatever.
Smash that like button.
Do whatever. Just get the podcast out there. If you think we good, you think we're doing something good, tell
If
people
you like
about
our podcast,
Tell
tell everyone that you know about it right now. Pause
Everyone-
the episode and tell everyone you know.
it. Everyone you know goes screaming through your house.
I want you to go to your family and tell them, hey family, these two cool ass kids have a podcast, and
Don't use ass if they would not be okay with it, but still make the message clear.
yeah, you get the gist of it, and then go screaming through your neighborhoods. Don't literally do this, but don't tell everybody that
Tell
you know.
everyone. Tell everyone about Outrospection.
If
Oh
you
my
want to
God.
go screaming through your neighborhood, that's not on us.
I feel like a prostitute right now, but I still want people to listen to this goddamn shit.
Okay, back to my story.
Emma.
Yeah, Emma. She had one of those bracelets. It was right before freshman year. I took the bracelet.
Did you steal it?
I didn't steal it. I just took it from her. She had it in her hand, and I
You
took it
pulled
out
a
of her
Purple Rain?
hand. Was that? Did that happen? I guess. I mean,
Yeah, shit.
shit. I guess that did happen in that movie. Only this was entirely platonic. I got the bracelet back. We had like a long conversation. You ever meet people that kind of just like upon meeting them, like you can feel something in their energy that's different than everyone else that you know? That's what happened there, and it was a big moment because we went on to be like really, really close friends. She became my best friend. She still is one of my best friends. I have 3 best friends. I'm gonna get to all of them. She moved to the West Coast recently. But you know, we're still close. We still talk. I love her. You know, I love her a whole lot. She's a great person. She's like a sister to me, and it's life defining because it was the first time I really had a friend that I was like that close with. The next one, come up with a pseudonym for me. That's
Amber.
I actually was gonna use that. I was thinking about that a little bit. Yeah, I met this girl called Amber. Amber was cool, I guess. You know,
You guess? She was
yeah,
kind of cool.
She was all right. She was some slight.
Who is Amber to you?
As of right now, my ex-girlfriend. If she ever hears this, all good energy. I don't think you'll ever hear this.
I'm pretty sure Amber still follows me.
Really? That's interesting.
That's super weird.
It is weird. Did she ever meet you?
Once.
Huh.
Or twice.
Yeah, this was like my sophomore year of high school. Sophomore year was a big year in high school.
We were in AP European history together, and he passed because of me.
I passed entirely because of him. Literally, I would not have passed that. There's no way.
I love that class so
That was
much.
a great class.
I was so good at that class. I taught that class after damn
I was
time.
terrible at that class. Amber and I met freshman year. We started going out that summer. We broke up the next year during sophomore year at some point. Then we got back together, kind of. I don't know. It was a weird little situation.
I hate when shit like that happens.
Yeah, it was a weird little situation where we were kind of together, I guess. I don't know. But we are not together. Eventually, we amicably split. It was a good moment. It was a very important thing. If she's listening to this, if you're listening to this, Amber, I think you know who you are. If you don't know who you are,
Then that's really funny if she doesn't know who she
if
is.
you haven't, if you're listening to this and you have no idea who I'm talking about, that's hilarious.
If Vanity or Susanna ever listen to this, which Susanna will definitely know, Vanity will never listen to this. This is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but the point that I'm trying to get at is, thank you for the memories. You're the reason that I'm able to talk to girls because I was like I was always like into girls, but I couldn't really like talk to them because I was always nervous and stuff. And that broke me from my nervousness. Now I can talk to girls, which I think is kind of important.
I think vanity for that.
The next thing on the list, probably one of the biggest things.
I'm dancing right now.
I'm
You know,
doing it
I'm
out of
dancing
order.
because it's me,
I'm doing it
bitch.
out of order.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to.
Damn.
You'll have your moment. Damn it. As I was saying, the summer before freshman year, me and my brother bought this little program on the computer, on the laptop, called Logic Pro X. Started doodling around, making little sounds and whatnots and gibbets and gibbets and blah blah blubs.
Do you know what a gibbet is?
It's the little things in Crocs. I hate those.
No,
Anyway.
isn't a gibbet also a thing they put pirates in, like the little cages?
Is it? What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anything about pirates. Well, how would I know anything about pirates? Do I look like a pirate to you?
No, because your hair is bleached and they didn't have that back then. Actually, they did have that back then, but it wasn't. They didn't really have it back then. But there's some evidence of Celts bleaching their hair.
That's weird.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue.
Anyway, we started doodling around on this Logic Pro X thing, making some sounds and some whatnots. And then around that time, I was like, I want to make some songs and be rapping and rap and be a rapman, a rapster.
A rapscallion.
I wanted to be a rapadoodle daisy.
A rapscallion. That was a pun. A Rappelstiltskin. A chicken wrap.
Clearly, we don't take ourselves very seriously around here. Anyway, I became a rapman. I started making my raps. You know, they were bad. They were real bad for a little bit.
You can listen to them.
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
You may if you like.
But
they're still
don't.
out there.
Don't.
I would hope that you wouldn't. I would hope that out of respect for me that you wouldn't. If you really want to, you can.
You should listen to it.
Yeah, if you like.
Actually, you shouldn't.
I would recommend that you
Yeah,
don't.
don't. Listen to but if you want to, you can go on YouTube and find R. Davis and listen to all of his current music that he's just recently released.
Yeah, all the music that I like is on YouTube under R. Davis.
And currently out his EP Hunt and his other EP project, Then King of the World.
Yep, it sure is. So anyway, I was like, my brother told my brother, I was like, yo, brother, I want to become a raptor.
That's the best one so far. Oh my God, a raptor.
Anyway, it was important. It was a big deal. I made a bunch of bad songs, a string of bad songs all through freshman year. All my songs were garbage. Then sophomore year, my songs started to be less garbage.
And as time goes on, they continue to become less and less compared to garbage.
And then eventually it gained to a point where I had a bunch of mildly listenable songs that I collected into a collection of mildly listenable songs. And it was called Hunt. And it was angsty, and it was raw, and it was aggressive, and it was the best piece of music that ever existed, ever.
It was nice.
It was okay.
It was okay.
Link Hunt.
I will.
We're gonna link Hunt in the
King of the World.
in the description. Hunt. It was very important to me. The whole process was important to me because it allowed me to be artistic in a way I hadn't been artistic before, and anything that ever allowed me to do that. Part of me being weird when I was younger was that I was always into art, and I like to draw. I like to just make art. That's always just been a thing that I love doing. I have all sorts of little mini artistic projects that kind of just would happen, and this journey of making music was the first consistent one that I started and didn't stop it. More on that as we go along. Next on the list. So I told you I have 3 best friends. One of them is Emma. I'm only calling her Emma. She actually has another name, but I'm not gonna name her name because I don't know if she wants me to. The other 2 I can name by name. If you listen to episode 3 of this podcast, it was a very important episode to me because I was with 2 of my bestest friends that I have currently. That's Marvin and Hayden. I met Hayden first. So how do I want to break this down? I met Hayden 6th grade.
6th grade.
We were in the same English class for like
Same
3
pod.
years in a row. I don't remember anything about middle school.
I remember things about middle school that I'm not going to talk about. They're terrifying.
Do
They're
you
all
remember
terrifying.
anything about middle school that you do want to talk about on account of the fact that I don't remember anything about it?
Rashad and I generally knew each other, and I tried to be nice to him, and we were associates, but I would not say we had been close. We not have been like really true friends yet.
Yeah, but we talked though. We were cool.
We talked. We were cool.
We were cool. We were cool at school. Cool in the school.
We weren't. Neither Rashad and I were cool in middle school.
No, we weren't. We were so garbage.
Yeah. Both of us were pretty garbage in middle school.
Yeah, I mean, but anyway,
If you peak in middle school, we can't be friends. If you peaked in middle school, there's something seriously wrong with you.
oh my god, that's so terrible. It's a terrible thought.
I will love you as I love all my brother and sisters here on earth, but we cannot be friends
Yeah. I will love you from a distance.
from a distance, platonically. But dear God, if you peaked in middle school, I don't know what the fuck has happened since then.
It must have been a terrible existence
Yeah.
ever since then. Life must have been agony.
Agony. Continue.
Anyway, so Hayden and I were friends in middle school. Freshman year, I sat at his lunch table with Ophelia, and yeah,
Freshman year?
freshman year. Remember, we were in the same advisory.
I was not in your advisory.
Oh no, I was in advisory with Ophelia,
Yeah.
and then we all sat at the lunch table together.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I remember because there was that one week where you like weren't at the lunch table.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was at that lunch table. Yes,
Oh yeah, that was when I was really depressy in
depressy.
freshman year, which I didn't talk about, but
Yeah, it's not.
I mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. We were still cool. You know, I would say that at this point
We
we
were
were
friends.
like friends. You know, I wasn't really in their friend group just because it was like
You sat next to me.
I sat next to but I wasn't really in their friend group because I don't like friend groups. I never have. So sophomore year, we were in AP Euro, and I feel like that's when we started becoming like good friends.
Yeah, we sat right across from each other, and I'm the reason he passed that class.
Yeah, and then junior year, I put a pin in that one because it didn't really become super important to me until senior year.
Yeah, and I was also getting heavily involved with the fallout with Vanity, and very, very, very involved with the rise of Susanna and I's relationship.
Yeah. Junior year is when I met Marvin. And we sat next to each other in
This is
English
great.
class for the whole year.
is
And then
fabulous.
halfway through the year, he got moved to the back of the class, and that's when we became friends.
Yeah.
We became friends one day. I don't remember. That's not when we became friends. That's when I started talking to him. I was like, "Yo, Marvin, what ethnicity are you?" And he was like, "I'm black and Mexican." And I was like, "You're black?" And ever since then, we were friends. I'm kidding. I'm not just gonna become friends with somebody because they're black. I know a bunch of black people are listening. Like, I just made a new friend. No, like I like black people. You know, love black people. I'm a black person. But if in case you're listening and we're unclear, Hayden is not black,
That's a fact.
and I am.
That is also a fact.
But anyway, that was more relevant because it was like a conversation that we kind of had, and then we just had mild conversations. That was during sophomore year actually that I became friends with Marvin. So I was decent friends with Marvin and Hayden throughout sophomore year. Junior year, like the whole year, I hung out with Marvin a whole lot, and that was a super important friendship because it like Emma and I were good friends, but we weren't really able to hang out the same way just because she didn't really live around us. But Marvin and I were able to be cool because Marvin like lived really close to my house, so I could literally just drive over there, like literally just at any point, and it was just like I was welcome, and it was the first time I had like a friendship that was that close. And I'm still very close with Marvin. He's still one of my best friends. I look at him like a brother. You know, it's still, every time I go over there, it's just the same as it was when he was out here. You know, he's in college now. And
Rip. Rip.
So that was Marvin. Me being friends with Marvin is what allowed me to become friends with Hayden the way that I am right now because senior year,
Which is this year.
in case you weren't aware, we're both seniors in high
Yeah.
school. If you weren't aware, then this is the first time you're listening to the podcast.
Yeah, because we made it pretty clear.
Senior year, Hayden and I, started hanging out a little bit. What happened senior year that made us start hanging out? I'm really trying to figure that out.
It was the latter half of second semester in senior year. This just happened, by the way. This is like less than 4 months ago.
Yeah, we really just kind of became like best friends.
Because we there was some level.
We were always all throughout high school, Hayden and I were pretty good friends.
Yeah, I showed up to the listening party for King of the World.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of when it started. Yeah, so Hayden and I became like super close friends.
And I also, I'm gonna rip a big hole in this for the music video for Flamingo. I was the cameraman that summer. I was Christopher Tracy.
Yeah, he just revealed himself.
Yeah.
Now it makes the whole pseudonym that we had in the video fucking pointless.
Yeah, I'm okay. I didn't want to be known then, but now I'm more okay with the fame. The not fame.
Being non-fame because I'm not famous.
But anyway, I think you would call me sometimes on the phone, and then I'd see you at school and we'd talk, and we
were cool. Like it was cool with Hayden because every time I had a conversation with Hayden, it was a good conversation.
Yeah,
and that's a huge thing in friends, is that if I can't have a good conversation with you, then we're not going to be friends.
And we kind of just like picked up where we left off sophomore year.
Yeah, and just by happenstance, we just became really close, and
then we were like, hey, we should make a podcast.
Yeah,
Michael was like, shit, we should make a podcast.
And then we started making the podcast.
Then we made a fucking podcast.
And it was cool. It was like, Hayden and I were like, this is just the most epic bromance that you will ever see.
Mm-hmm. And as I was saying earlier, when we started making the podcast, Rashad and I got pretty close. Now we're like the bestest of buddies.
Yes, we're good pals.
We're buddies.
We're chums.
We're like the Buddies movies, except we're cuter than the puppies.
We're not cuter than the puppies.
That's true. They're golden retriever puppies. You can't get much cuter than that, except for corgi puppies in Georgia.
I love Georgia and corgis. Yeah. So Hayden and Marvin, that's all went under one bullet point because they all kind of happened concurrently. Mm-hmm. Those are like my brothers. I hung out with them on my birthday. I wouldn't have rather have been anywhere else. That's my extended family in my mind anyway.
We ushered him into becoming a grown man. Mm-hmm. Marvin and I, the best. And you've heard Marvin before on the podcast at episode 3, Soup and Sandwiches. Listen now.
I already mentioned that, but yes, go back and listen to episode 3 if you want to know what Marvin's voice sounds like
and his opinions on soups and sandwiches.
Mm-hmm. Marvin's a great person.
Mm-hmm, he is.
All my friends are great people,
especially me,
except for Hayden.
That's true. I'm a terrible human being. I should be shot. I should be shot in the streets like Stalin.
Whoa,
like Stalin would have done to people.
Damn, chill. That's not that.
Kill
that's
me,
not
please.
True. Hayden's a good person.
Kill me. Kill me.
I didn't do this when you were going through your bullet points. Damn it.
No, you were making faces the whole time.
You're right. Anyway, next important moment was
life-defining moment.
Life-defining moment was junior year when I made King of the World. That's my EP, the second EP.
The spiritual opposite to Hunt, kind of.
Yeah, Hunt was all saddie and depressy, and aggressy. And then, I don't know. Oh yeah, I met a friend, in Virginia, at this camp that I went to about production because I was starting to get really like I like the music thing. And I met,
so wait, you have the audacity to judge my production, and you've been to a camp, and I haven't been to a camp.
It was a week-long camp.
That's a week more than I ever had.
Yeah, but I also pretty much knew everything going into it.
Okay, continue.
And then I met a pal. His name was Charlie. He's a pretty cool dude, pretty cool person. I don't think he identifies as he. Maybe it's they. I don't know. I'll ask him at some point, or them. I don't know. I talked to Charlie and I was like, you wanna produce this EP that I want to do? We should work together. You're good at making sounds. And Charlie was like, yeah, let's do it. And then Charlie sent me a bunch of instrumentals and I liked them and I made sounds on them. I think King of the World was relevant because it was the first time that I was making good music. Good music. Hunt was okay, I think, but King of the World was important because it was like I can put these thoughts together in a way that I feel like strongly about. I feel like it was like I can make sounds that adequately express what I was trying to say and are good. Like I feel proud of the content that I've put out. And I felt that way when I did Hunt, but I felt more of that when I made King of the World. It was like a really important thing because it was like I was proving to myself that I can do this thing that I really want to do in making music that I like. We're linking King of the World in the description also.
Of course.
King of the World is a nice little sound.
I like it. I bought it.
Yeah, you should all buy it if you wanna give me money. If you were in your wallet, if you went to your parents' room and you went in their wallet and you got all the monies out of their wallet and you were like, I'm gonna send this to Outrospection, do me a solid and send it to me by buying the album.
Support Outrospection.
Don't steal from your parents
Or anyone.
but specifically your parents.
Unless they deserve it. Your parents don't deserve it, but if some people... if you're going to steal, be Ant-Man.
And if your parents deserve it, then
call social services.
Sorry. I feel bad for you.
We love you.
The last thing that's on my list is this play that I did called Almost Maine.
Which was fucking... All right. I'm gonna stop you right there, Sway. I'd like to point out that Rashad's performance in this play is what fucking made it amazing. Like, I almost cried. What he did was fucking bomb. It hit me right in my fucking heart.
It was all right. That
was just after Susanna had left for college, and I wasn't expecting it, and I wish she had been there with me because that's when we were dating. But, like, fuck. It was such a great moment. He was so great in it.
If you're a theater kid across the country, then there's a good chance you've heard of Almost Maine. It's incredibly popular amongst high school theater productions. It's a play, and it's about all these little different vignettes or whatever. I don't really know how to explain it.
Novelas.
But Almost Maine, what Almost Maine did for me was the moment that it was specifically the show that was on that Friday, the Friday performance of that show.
That's when I was at.
And what it was like I felt connected to this energy that I've never felt connected to before.
It's because I was there. No, it wasn't. Continue.
Fuck off, Aiden. Anyway, I felt really connected to it. It started to like really just kind of hit me a certain way. Hit me like it was like I felt like a connection to a group. I felt like a connection to this thing. I felt a connection to the audience. I was feeding off of their energy, and it was like all the time that I've been making art and trying to make this connection with people, because I've never really been great at just connecting with people right off the bat. It was like, what is it? What's going to be the thing that makes me able to connect? And it was that show, and that's what made me decide that I wanted to pursue acting. Now I still pursue music, of course. You know, the plan hopefully is to try and pursue acting as a career now. And it's all because of Almost Maine. It's what made me fall in love with theater. It's what made me fall in love with being an actor. It's just it drew me in a way that I hadn't been drawn in before, and I really liked that. It was a nice moment, and that's my 10th thing.
And that's it. That's 10. That's 20 in total, but 10 for me, 10 for Rashad. Life defining moments of the Outrospection hosts. I like that.
I like that too.
It's good to talk about yourself a little bit.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about anything else?
International Women's Day.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Today is International Women's Day. Apparently, every time we record, it's either their birthday or holiday.
I'd like to take this moment to sincerely make a statement about women. It's not going to be Women's Day when this comes out. Yeah. Women go through a whole lot. It's genuinely like based on. I wouldn't know, I'm not a woman, but I know that a lot of women go through a whole lot of things. There's a whole lot that goes into being a woman, that it's just so much to deal with, so much to kind of internalize, you know, a whole lot that you have to think about all the time, well, with the double standards in society. And these are the people who are bringing children into this world and raising them up. And,
you know, half the world's population contributing everything, you know, there just isn't like I can't even find the words. Women are half of the human race, and they deserve to be treated as just as equal.
Yeah, and I wanted to take a moment to say that women are important, and we need to all love women because women are very important.
We're preaching all the women in our lives.
bad way of saying what I was trying to say. We need to respect women more.
That's true.
We need to be kinder to women. We need to stop trying to objectify them, and we need to stop trying to make them into. We need to stop looking at them as less than us as men and less than us as males, because we're all people, and they deserve to be treated like people the same way that we do. They deserve to be able to feel. They deserve this kind of equity that they don't really have, just because of the double standard in society and because of a whole lot of things. But I just want to take a moment to say that I appreciate women, and I want to thank the women in my life for shaping me to be who I am.
I'd like to also thank all the women in my life to shape me who I am, and most of the people I'm close to in the world are women, and I owe them all, and that I will never be able to repay for all the good they've done unto me. And here's some science for you guys. So one of the key things in human development and the development of nations is the introduction of contraceptives into a society to decrease the amount of children we're having, and the growth of women in society, because that helps people have less children. In societies where there's less equality, women are often forced to have more children or expected to have more children. But it's really important for human development and for the world, and it's incredibly important for economies that women are treated the same way as men and allowed to have the same rights, and, you know, allowed to live lives of their own volition and not be constrained by those social things. And I think that, you know, as we progress more toward a world in which we are less bound by the constraints of, you know, people fitting into bubbles, and especially between, you know, the bubbles, the ancient bubbles we had for women and the ancient bubbles we had for men. I think as those bubbles move closer together and we have less of those constraints, we'll all be happier and we'll all function better as a human race.
What needs to happen is it needs to just become one bubble.
Yeah.
As
one
bubbles
bubble.
do. Just a big bubble.
You blow one bubble, another bubble comes in, they go boom, and they become one big bubble.
Unless they all just pop.
That's no.
Irrelevant. That was more of about bubbles than it was about the metaphor.
Don't mention bubbles around us. We just get too distracted on the actual concept of bubbles.
Dude, bubbles are so amazing.
Bubbles are pretty amazing.
Like
how did we just get from International Women's Day to bubbles? We're two shitty human beings, but it's okay.
Oh my God, we're not good at this. The point that we're trying to make is
You're
that
right. We're not good at this. We're the best at this.
We don't want to delegitimize Women's Day by talking about bubbles, because it's very important. I just wanted to take this moment to appreciate women and appreciate the impact that women have on society. Women need to be treated equally to us as men in society. It's good for us as a society. It's good for unity. It's good for bringing minds into this world that are important, because, you know, we can't act like men are the only ones who are able to be smart, and who are able to be scientists, and who are able to be inventors, who are able to run the country, who are able to be very important in life. Like the idea that everything is so male dominated is ridiculous.
It's stupid and ineffective, to be honest.
We need to treat women with more validation, because it's going to in turn help make society move forward faster, because the more minds that we bring to the table, the more intelligent minds that we push forward, the more young women that grow up and want to be scientists, and the more we allow them to do these things, want to be scientists, want to be doctors, want to be lawyers, want to be teachers, want to be all these things to help advance culture forward. The more that we open doors for them to be able to do that, the more then they'll be able to, the more that society will be able to progress forward.
And not to mention, just the all golden rule for all dudes, for the patriarchy: treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, fuck the patriarchy.
Fuck the patriarchy.
It just needs to be an anarchy. It just needs to be anarchy. One more thing that I want to cover on this episode before we
say goodbye forever. No, I'm kidding. We'll be back. You can't get rid of us yet.
We're here forever.
And ever.
Oxford commas. We love them.
Love them. I'm pro Oxford comma.
I'm pro Oxford comma.
Very pro Oxford comma.
If you don't like Oxford commas,
you're wrong.
We have to talk. I just want to talk. Okay. I just want to understand. And it sounds like I'm getting hyped up for no reason. But I just want to
episode 1.
I just want to understand why. What's wrong with them? They're good.
They help.
like across the board. They're just good. They make it because it's like they make it clear that you're not using the and like to make the two statements in the list a one thing. Like it's good. It helps make the list look more like a list and less like a collection of things. Like then it makes without the Oxford comma, to me, it delegitimizes the first comma.
Facts.
I just wanted to say that it was very important. I'm glad that I got that off my chest.
I'm glad too.
If you don't know what an Oxford comma is, we're gonna
link to the Wikipedia article, and you should learn how to use it. If you don't use the Oxford comma, you should definitely consider using it.
I have no idea how I want to end this podcast.